Welcome to another deep dive. We're going to be talking all about how to talk to anyone.
Oh, a classic.
This is a book by Leil Lowndes, and it's full of tips that you can really use. So make sure.
Practical tips, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Practical tips. And actually, if you check out the link in the description, you can get a free audiobook of how to talk to anyone. And we also have some other goodies for you in there, some educational content.
Some extras, yeah.
Yeah, so go check that out. So today we're talking all about how to talk to anyone. So, just imagine you're about to walk into, I don't know, a networking event or even a first date.
A party.
A party, yeah, exactly. And wouldn't it be great if you could walk into that situation and just know that you could talk to anyone there and feel good about it?
Confident in it.
Confidently, yeah. That's what this book is all about. And this book is by Leil Lowndes. And she is like a world-renowned expert in communication. And she's trained everyone from CEOs to...
Big names.
Yeah. To Peace Corps volunteers. So she's worked with a lot of different people. And, one of the first things I thought was really interesting in this book was how much she emphasized first impressions.
First impressions.
Yeah.
Important.
Very important.
Yeah.
And she says that 80% of what people think about you in those initial moments is based purely on how you look and move.
So before you even say anything.
Before you even say anything.
That's fascinating.
It's like your brain is just hardwired to
snap judgments.
Make these snap judgments. Yeah. Whether you realize it or not.
Right.
Like it's just happening.
It is.
And I think it's so interesting because...
It makes sense, though, when you think about it.
It does?
I mean, our brains are still kind of wired for those fight or flight responses.
Exactly.
Like way back when our ancestors...
Yeah, caveman days.
Exactly. Caveman days, they had to assess the situation quickly, figure out, is this person a threat or a friend?
Right.
Can we barter? Can we,
Right.
And so those first impressions, I think they really mattered back then.
And they still do.
They still do. So it makes you realize how important it is to be, deliberate about what you're projecting.
Totally. And she talks about a few things, but one of them is the flooding smile. And it's not just like a quick smile. It's about letting that smile sort of slowly spread across your face.
Like a genuine smile.
Yes, like a genuine smile.
Reaching your eyes.
Yeah, like you're really happy to see someone. I was picturing it when I was reading it, and it's so much more genuine than just a plastered-on smile.
I feel like you're lighting up.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that inner joy coming out.
And then there's also sticky eyes, which is when you're holding eye contact for just a beat longer after someone finishes speaking.
Oh, that's a good one. Because I think a lot of people break eye contact as soon as the person stops talking.
Right.
But if you hold it for just a second longer, it's like you're saying, I'm with you, I'm still listening, I'm present.
Yeah. It really shows that you're engaged.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's this really interesting technique. She calls it epoxy eyes.
Oh, this one's a little bit...
This one is a little...
More intense.
More intense. And she says this one is, this is for those looking to spark romance, I guess.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's when you hold eye contact even when they're not speaking.
Oh, okay.
So that's like...
That's definitely... You got to be careful with that one.
You got to be careful.
Could be a little creepy.
But it creates this intensity and connection.
Right.
If you're into that person and they're into you.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we've established nonverbal communication is very important, especially first impressions.
Big time.
But what about small talk?
Ugh, small talk.
I think most of us dread small talk.
Yeah, it can be painful.
But she actually has, I think, a really cool perspective on it.
Oh, does she?
She says, don't stress too much about the content of the small talk. It's more about the tone that you set and making the other person feel comfortable.
So it's not about being like a witty conversationalist.
Yeah.
It's about making people feel at ease.
Yeah, and just creating that nice, welcoming atmosphere.
Right.
And she talks about being a word detective.
What's a word detective?
Right. I thought the same thing. Basically what she means is you should be really listening to what the other person is saying.
Okay.
And not just like the words, but like what are the emotions behind it? What are they excited about? What do they seem interested in?
Yeah. So you can kind of pick up on those cues.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can steer the conversation in a direction that they're genuinely interested in.
So it's like you're gathering clues.
Exactly.
Like a detective.
And then using those clues to guide the conversation.
That's interesting. I like that.
I know. I like that too.
It's very clever.
I think it's very clever.
Yeah.
So now that we've got our first impression.
We're killing it.
We've got our small talk.
We're smooth.
We're word detectives. What about, if we just hit a wall in the conversation, what do we do?
Oh, that's the worst.
I know. It's like that awkward silence.
Yeah. What are her tips for that?
She has a few. One of them is to wear or carry something unusual,
Oh, interesting.
like maybe a piece of jewelry.
Okay, a conversation starter.
Yeah, like a conversation piece. It could be like, you're wearing a sign that says, like, ask me about this, but it's a little more subtle than that.
It's a visual cue.
Right. Yeah, I like that.
And then, if you have a mutual friend with someone,
Oh, that's always a good
that's always an easy icebreaker. You can just be like, oh, how do you know so-and-so?
Yeah.
And just kind of go from there. But what if you don't have a mutual friend?
That's tough.
That is tough. She actually suggests
What?
eavesdropping.
Oh.
Now, I know it sounds kind of sneaky, but hear me out.
Okay.
What she means is, if you're at a gathering and you overhear a conversation, that sounds interesting.
Right.
Don't be afraid to just kind of chime in respectfully.
Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear. Something like that.
As long as it's not like a super private conversation.
Right. Of course. It should be something where it makes sense to join.
Yeah, it's about being organic.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. It's about being organic and finding a way to just kind of join an existing conversation rather than forcing a new one.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And then another thing is she says, like, turn one-word answers into stories.
Oh, interesting.
So instead of saying, oh, I'm from, Chicago, you could say, oh, I'm from Chicago and the best pizza place there is.
Give a little anecdote.
Right.
I like that. It makes it more memorable.
Yeah, exactly. It just brings it to life a little more.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Okay, so now we've talked about first impressions.
We're good at that now.
We're good at that. Small talk,
We're pros.
conversation starters.
You're killing it.
But what about talking about your job?
Ah,
Because that can be boring.
so boring.
I know. For both people involved, probably.
Yeah, what's her take on that?
Okay, she has a clever strategy for that.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, what do you do? Which can feel
Scary.
very interviewy, like an interrogation.
Yeah, like you're in a job interview.
Right. Try saying this instead. How do you spend most of your time?
Oh.
What do you think?
That's good because it's more open-ended.
It is.
It could be work, it could be a hobby, it could be, their kids.
Right.
It doesn't pigeonhole them.
Exactly. And it shows that you're interested in them as a whole person and not just
Their job title.
their job title.
That's a really good one. I like that.
Right. I think that's such a clever way to phrase it.
It is. It is.
And it makes the conversation so much more interesting, I think, for both people.
Yeah, I'm going to use that one.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, speaking of showcasing your personality, Lowndes dedicates a whole chapter to making people feel valued and appreciated without resorting to flattery.
Oh, I love that. Because flattery can be so cheesy.
Right. And it feels disingenuous.
It does. It does.
So she has some tips for doing that.
Okay, tell me.
One of them is, when someone's sharing something, instead of jumping in right away with, me too,
Right.
just let them finish their thought
Okay.
and then pause
Farmer.
and then agree.
So it feels more genuine.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like you're really considering what they're saying.
Yeah, you're not just waiting to talk.
Exactly. And then another thing is starting your sentences with you.
You. Okay.
Yeah. It sounds simple, but it really
It makes them feel special.
it makes them feel special.
You're the center of attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like you're acknowledging their importance.
I like that.
Right. And then when you're meeting a group of people, don't just give like a generic smile to the whole group.
Right.
Give each person a unique smile.
Oh, okay.
Like you're genuinely delighted to meet each person individually.
Like you're seeing them
Yes.
individually.
And I know that takes effort,
It does.
but it really makes a difference in how you come across.
It shows you're present.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not just, on autopilot.
Okay, so now we've talked about positive interactions.
The fun stuff.
But what about those trickier conversations?
The ones you dread.
The ones you kind of dread, the sensitive topics, the potential for conflict.
The minefields.
The minefields. Yeah, exactly.
What does she say about that?
Okay, well, first and foremost, she says, never make jokes at someone else's expense,
Okay.
no matter how tempting it is.
Oh, that's a good rule.
I know. And that can be hard, but it's so important because humor is,
A double-edged sword.
it can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Don't-
can easily backfire,
Especially if it's at someone else's expense.
especially if it's at someone else's expense. And then when you're delivering news, especially if it's bad news,
Oh, that's always tough.
it's always tough. But she says, be sensitive, think about the other person's emotions and choose your words carefully.
It's all about empathy,
Yes,
putting yourself in their shoes.
exactly. Now, what about when someone just keeps pushing an unwelcome topic.
Oh, that's annoying.
I know. It's like, come on, I've already said I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah.
She actually has a technique for that. It sounds a little odd.
Okay, I'm curious.
But when someone presses on a topic that you don't want to discuss, just calmly repeat your initial response.
Like word for word.
Word for word, using the same tone of voice.
Okay.
And often, that diffuses the situation without escalating the conflict.
So it's like you're setting a boundary.
Yeah, but you're not being confrontational about it.
That's good. Subtle, but effective.
Exactly. Okay, so speaking of potentially awkward encounters, let's talk about celebrities.
Oh, celebrities.
Because I feel like most people either freeze up
Right.
or they go overboard with the compliments.
Yeah, I've been that person.
We've all been that person, probably. But Lowndes, she has a really interesting perspective on that. Instead of showering them with praise,
Okay.
try mentioning something specific that you learned from their work.
Oh, interesting.
It shows that you're engaging with their ideas.
You're not just fawning over them.
Right.
You actually care about their work.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
also, don't bring up, like, ancient accomplishments.
Right. Right.
Focus on their recent work.
Show that you're up to date.
Yes.
Yes.
Because it shows that you're genuinely interested in their current endeavors.
It makes you seem more informed.
Exactly.
Not stuck in the past.
Okay, so we've talked about making a good first impression, mastering small talk.
We're doing great.
We're doing great, navigating tricky conversations.
We get this.
We got this. And even chatting up celebrities.
We're ready for Hollywood.
We're ready for Hollywood. But what about sounding like you know what you're talking about, even if you're not an expert on a topic?
Oh, that's a good one, because nobody's an expert on everything.
Right. And she actually has this concept called gobbledygook.
Gobbledygook.
I know. I love the name.
What is that?
It's basically the specialized language of different professions.
Oh, the jargon.
Yeah, the jargon.
Okay. Okay.
And she suggests learning a little bit about a lot of different fields.
So be a jack of all trades.
Be a jack of all trades. Exactly.
Interesting.
So it's like having this toolbox full of, conversational tools.
You might not be able to build a house, but you can fix a leaky faucet.
Exactly. I love that analogy.
Good. Yeah.
And so you don't have to be an expert in everything.
Right.
But just having that basic knowledge can make you so much more interesting and engaging.
I agree with that.
So how do we acquire that knowledge?
Right. That's the question. Where do we get all this gobbledygook?
She says one strategy is to find an insider in a field that you're interested in
Okay.
and ask them to teach you some key jargon.
Oh, like a crash course.
Yeah, like a little crash course.
I like that.
And, find someone who's passionate, because then they're going to be excited to share their knowledge with you.
They'll geek out with you.
Exactly. So we've covered, first impressions, small talk, building rapport.
Yeah, we're doing well.
We're doing great. And it's clear that Lowndes sees communication as more than just exchanging words. It's about building genuine connections.
And fostering a sense of belonging, like a community.
And she talks about creating a sense of tribe by moving beyond those superficial interactions and really establishing deeper connections.
So it's not about being a smooth talker. It's
not just about being a smooth talker.
It's about forming real relationships.
Exactly.
Okay, how do we do that?
So she talks about these 4 levels of connection, and it starts with like cliches.
Okay.
Like the surface level exchanges that we have with strangers.
Right.
And then we move to facts.
Okay.
Like sharing personal information, like our interests and our experiences.
Yeah, getting to know each other.
Right. And then as that connection deepens, we share our feelings, we ask more personal questions.
Okay.
And then finally, we reach this level of we statements.
Oh, yes.
We statements.
Yeah.
Where we start to see ourselves as part of a shared group.
A tribe.
A tribe. Exactly.
It's like building a bridge.
Yes. It's like building a bridge from me to we. And she has some practical tips for doing that.
Okay, like what?
One of them is creating what she calls instant history.
Instant history.
Instant history. So finding a shared moment
Okay.
or experience that you can refer back to.
Okay.
So it could be something as simple as laughing at the same joke or commenting on a piece of art at a museum.
Yeah, it creates a shared memory.
Yes. It creates a shared memory and it strengthens that bond between you.
Like an inside joke.
Right.
Okay.
And then another thing is mirroring, which is subtly copying the other person's body language and their speech patterns.
Mirroring. Oh, that's interesting.
I know it sounds a little strange, but it actually,
Subconsciously makes them feel more comfortable.
yeah, it creates a subconscious rapport and it makes them feel more understood.
Yeah.
It's like you're speaking their language.
Right.
Literally and figuratively.
Okay, cool.
And now let's talk about the art of praise, because I think everybody loves a good compliment.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
But there's a right way and a wrong way to give a compliment. What does she recommend?
I'm curious.
So she actually thinks praise is most effective when it's given indirectly. Indirectly. So instead of complimenting someone to their face, you tell someone else about how much you admire them.
Oh.
And then, if they eventually hear about it,
It means more.
it means so much more.
Because it wasn't intended for them to hear.
Exactly. And it's not about fishing for compliments
Right.
or expecting something in return.
It's about genuine appreciation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then she also encourages us to become, quote, carriers of good news.
Carriers of good news.
Carriers of good news. So if you hear someone say something nice about someone else,
You pass it on.
you pass it on.
Spread the love.
Spread the love, exactly. It's like, being a little social butterfly.
Yeah. Pollinating good vibes.
Exactly. Now, when we do give direct compliments,
Okay.
she says, be specific and sincere. So instead of saying, you're a great writer,
Okay.
say, I really loved that scene in your book where, and then, give a specific example.
So you're paying attention to the details.
Exactly.
And it's not just generic.
Right. So it's moving beyond that generic flattery.
Yeah, it's heartfelt.
And it's heartfelt. So have you ever tried any of Lowndes' techniques?
I have.
You have.
I used to think the sticky eyes technique was a little manipulative,
Right.
but then I tried it at a conference,
Okay.
and the connections I made were incredible.
Wow.
People really felt heard,
That's great.
and the conversations just flowed so much more naturally.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
It just goes to show sometimes you got to step outside your comfort zone and experiment.
definitely.
So we've talked about all these different aspects of communication, but one thing we haven't talked about yet is the phone.
The phone.
The phone.
Who uses the phone anymore?
I know. It seems so old school.
All right. But we do.
We do. It's still an important tool.
It is, for sure.
And it's a little trickier because we can't rely on those nonverbal cues that we were talking about.
Right.
So, are you ready to dive into the world of phone conversations?
Let's do it.
Let's dial in.
I love it.
I love it.
Okay, so phone conversations, I kind of hate talking on the phone.
I know. Me too.
I'd much rather text or...
Yeah, it feels so awkward sometimes.
Yeah. But, it's unavoidable. Sometimes you got to talk on the phone.
Right. Like for work.
Work, yeah.
Or, sometimes it's just more efficient to have a phone call than to text back and forth forever.
True.
So what does she have to say about that?
Okay, well, first of all, obviously you can't rely on all those nonverbal cues that we were talking about earlier.
Right, like the flooding smile and...
Sticky eyes, yeah.
Yeah, you can't really do sticky eyes on the phone.
Unless you're on video chat.
True.
But, so much of communication is tone of voice.
Right.
And how you say things.
Exactly. And that's even more important on the phone.
Yeah.
Because that's all they have to go on.
It is.
So one thing she says is to pretend like the person is right there in the room with you.
Oh, interesting.
So,
So you're not just talking into the void.
Exactly. It's more engaging.
Okay.
And then also stand up when you're talking on the phone.
What? Why?
I know it sounds weird,
Yeah.
but apparently it helps with your energy levels.
Oh, interesting.
And your voice projects better.
Okay.
So you sound more confident and enthusiastic.
I'm going to try that. I always just slouch over my desk.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I would try standing up.
Yeah. Let's see if it makes a difference.
And then, you know how sometimes you get put on hold?
Oh, the worst.
I know. And it's just that awful music.
The elevator music.
The elevator music, yeah.
It's just repeating.
It's like torture.
It is.
Well, she has a tip for that.
Oh, does she?
She says to use that time to practice your power poses.
Power poses.
So, stand up straight,
Okay.
put your hands on your hips.
Okay. Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly. Wonder Woman pose.
Whoa.
Or like the victory pose, with your arms up in the air.
Oh, yeah. Like you just won a race.
Exactly. And apparently doing that for just a minute or two can actually boost your confidence.
Wow. So it's like a psychological trick.
It is. It's like tricking your brain into feeling more powerful.
I like it. It's like a little secret weapon.
Exactly. So next time you're on hold, don't just sit there and suffer.
Strike a pose.
Strike a pose. Power pose.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're feeling good about our phone skills. Let's talk about parties.
Parties. Oh, boy.
I know, parties can be a mixed bag.
They can be fun. They can be stressful.
Yeah, it depends.
Depends on the party.
Depends on the party, exactly. And she has some really interesting advice for navigating parties.
Okay, tell me.
So she says, think of every interaction, even those brief encounters, as a rehearsal for the moments when you might meet someone who could change your life.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
right? It's like you never know who you're going to meet.
You never know.
And that person could be like your future business partner or
Yeah.
your soulmate.
Right.
Or,
Your best friend.
your best friend. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's about being present
Being open.
and open to those possibilities.
I like that.
Right.
It's like every interaction is an opportunity.
Exactly. So, when you walk into a crowded room, it can be a little overwhelming.
Oh, yeah. Where do you even start?
Right. Where do you even start?
I usually just head for the food.
Me too.
Yeah.
But she says, actually, before you jump into conversations, take a moment to survey the scene.
Oh, interesting.
So observe the dynamics.
Right, so-
Like, what's the energy level?
Right.
What's the general mood?
Like get a feel for the room.
Yes. Get a feel for the room. And then this one's a little hard for me.
Okay.
She says, avoid eating while you're engaged in conversation.
What? No way.
Maybe
But
not.
the snacks.
I know, but she says, when you're chewing and swallowing,
Right.
you're not fully present in the conversation.
Okay.
And it can be distracting for the other person. Right.
So if you really want to make a memorable connection,
Put down the chips.
put down the chips.
Okay.
Focus on the conversation.
I'm going to try that.
Okay. Now let's talk about favors and bloopers because they happen
Oh, yeah, all the time.
to the best of us. So when it comes to favors,
Okay.
she says, allow the person who did you the favor to bask in the glow of their generosity.
Okay.
So don't immediately try to reciprocate
Oh, right.
or downplay their kindness.
Yeah, just let them feel good about helping you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then a heartfelt thank you is always appreciated,
Of course.
but maybe find a subtle way to express your gratitude later on.
Like a little gift or
Yeah, like a little gift.
a note.
A thank you note, exactly. And then bloopers.
Oh, we all have them?
We all have them, whether they're our own or someone else's.
Right.
She says just overlook them whenever possible.
Sure.
Practice forgiveness.
Be kind.
Be kind, exactly. But what if you, really mess up?
Like you say something totally inappropriate. Yeah. Where you put your foot in your mouth.
Oh, that's the worst.
I know. It's so embarrassing. But she says, rip off the Band-Aid.
What does that mean?
If you realize you said something wrong, just acknowledge it immediately and apologize sincerely.
Okay.
It's painful in the moment, but it prevents further damage.
Right.
And it shows that you're accountable for your words.
Okay.
And then just move on.
Don't dwell on it.
Don't dwell on it. Now, what about those awkward encounters where you bump into someone you've had a conflict with?
Oh, I hate that.
I know.
Like, do you pretend you don't see them?
Right. Do you make eye contact?
What do you do?
She actually advises against engaging in confrontations at social gatherings.
Okay.
It's just not the right time or place.
Right.
If you must address the issue, find a more private and appropriate setting.
So choose your battles.
Choose your battles, exactly. And remember, the goal of attending a party isn't to, collect business cards or impress everyone in the room.
Right.
It's about connecting with others.
Having fun.
Having fun. So relax. Be yourself.
Enjoy the party.
Enjoy the party, exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground. First impressions, small talk, even phone conversations. But I feel like one area we haven't really touched on yet is, parties and social gatherings.
Oh, yes. The dreaded parties.
I know. It can be so, nerve-wracking.
It can, especially those big networking events or, holiday parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you don't know many people.
Right. And you just feel like you're kind of I don't know, just standing there awkwardly.
Yeah, like you're supposed to be mingling, but you're not sure how.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But Lowndes, she has this really interesting perspective on it. She says, think of every interaction, even those brief encounters, as a rehearsal for those moments when you might meet someone who could change your life.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
It is.
Because you never know who you're going to meet at a party.
You really don't.
It could be, a future business partner, a collaborator,
Or soulmate.
yeah, even your soulmate. You just never know.
So it's about being present and open to those possibilities.
I like that mindset shift.
Yeah,
It makes it less about, trying to impress everyone and
Right.
more about just being open to connection.
exactly. So when you walk into a crowded room, it can be a little overwhelming,
Oh, for sure.
right? Where do you even start? I usually just head for the food.
Me too. The snacks are always a safe bet.
But Lowndes actually recommends, before you dive into conversations, take a moment to survey the scene.
Oh, interesting.
So observe the dynamics, what's the energy level, what's the general mood.
Okay, so get a feel for the room.
Exactly. It's like taking the temperature of the room.
I like that. It's like you're gathering intel.
Yeah. And then this one's a little hard for me, but she says, avoid eating while you're engaged in conversation.
What? No way.
I know.
But the snacks.
I know. But she says when you're chewing and swallowing, you're not fully present in the conversation.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And it could be distracting for the other person.
Yeah, nobody wants to see you with your mouth full.
Right. So if you really want to make a memorable connection, put down the chips. Focus on the conversation.
Okay, I can try that.
All right. Now let's talk about favors and bloopers, because they happen.
Oh, yeah, they definitely happen.
To the best of us. So when it comes to favors,
Okay.
she says, allow the person who did you the favor to bask in the glow of their generosity.
Oh, interesting.
So don't immediately try to reciprocate
Okay.
or downplay their kindness.
Right, just let them feel good about helping you.
Exactly.
Like that.
And a heartfelt thank you is always appreciated.
Of course.
But maybe find a subtle way to express your gratitude later on.
Yeah.
You know, like a little gift or a thank you note.
Yeah, like a little gesture.
Right. And then bloopers.
Oh, boy.
We all have them.
We all have them.
Whether it's our own or someone else's.
Right?
She says just overlook them whenever possible.
Oh.
Practice forgiveness. Be kind. Exactly. But what if you, like, really mess up?
Like you say something really offensive.
Yeah, you say something totally inappropriate, put your foot in your mouth.
Oh, that's the worst.
I know. She says rip off the Band-Aid.
Okay.
So if you realize you said something wrong, acknowledge it immediately and apologize sincerely.
Get it over with.
Yeah, get it over with. It's painful in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
but it prevents further damage.
Right.
And it shows that you're accountable for your words.
It shows you care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just move on.
Don't dwell on it.
Don't dwell on it.
Yeah.
Okay, what about those awkward encounters where you bump into someone you've had a conflict with?
Ooh, yeah. Do you avoid eye contact?
Right. What do? Do you say hi?
It's so awkward.
It's so awkward. She actually advises against engaging in confrontations at social gatherings.
Okay.
It's just not the right time or place.
Yeah, not the time or the place.
Right. And if you must address the issue, find a more private and appropriate setting.
Yeah, choose your battles.
Choose your battles, exactly. And remember, the goal of attending a party isn't to, like, collect business cards.
Right.
Or impress everyone in the room.
It's not competition.
It's not a competition.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with others, having fun,
Enjoying yourself.
enjoying yourself. So relax. Be yourself.
Be present.
Be present, exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into how to talk to anyone, what's your biggest takeaway?
You know, for me, it's that idea of treating every interaction as an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because you really never know where a conversation might lead.
You don't. It could lead to something amazing.
Exactly.
So go out there, start those conversations, build those connections,
Then have fun.
and have fun. And don't forget to check out the show notes for the link to that free audiobook and some bonus content. Happy conversing.